Welcome back and welcome to part 62 in my build blog series of the Trumpeter 1:200 scale model of the Titanic. Today I am going to be carrying on with my work on the officers' quarters. Might get it finished, but I suspect we probably won't. But really, by the end of the video, I want to have all of the lights working. I want to have connected up the side lights as well, port and starboard, get them into the lighting circuit as well. And I'd really like to have finished the gymnasium, get the interiors of that done. There's not much left to go, but there is a little bit left to go on that. I doubt we'll get Murdoch's cabin done, I doubt we'll get the smoking room finished, and I doubt we'll get the Marconi room finished either. But we'll see. I'll show whatever I'm up to. And yeah, whatever we get finished, we get finished. So, without any further ado, let's crack on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start soldering these LEDs together. So as always, I will be doing chains of 4 with a resistor at the end of each chain. So resistor, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another chain, resistor, 1, 2, 3, 4, with all of the chains being arranged in parallel. So I'm going to do this on time lapse because you've seen me do endless LED soldering before. So I'll do this on time lapse. And there we go, that's what we'll be up to. I decided I'd show one, just for old time's sake. So, what I do is I get the 2 wires I'm doing, in this case, a red wire from this LED here, and the black wire from this LED here. And what I do is I tie them into a knot. So that's the first half of the knot. And then the second half of the knot like that. Then what I do is I hold the soldering iron on that knot, add a bit of solder, and gently sort of rub the soldering iron against the knot. And what that does is the heat starts to melt and burn off the plastic insulation on the wire. And of course, once that insulation's gone, the wires are exposed and they can be soldered together. It's important that you use plenty of solder here because we're burning plastic. We're creating quite a lot of stuff that could make the joint a bit of a poor electrical joint. You know, ash and carbon and stuff don't make very good solder joints. They increase the resistance and stop solder doing its job. So it's worth using a fair bit of solder here, because the more solder you use, the more flux you introduce, and therefore the more cleaning power you have on the joint to make sure that that carbon buildup doesn't damage the electrical quality of the joint. So that's it, and now I've trimmed off those wires and that LED is all connected up. Here we are, first test with the lights turned on, and we can see that they're all working very nicely on both sides. And of course this presents a rather good opportunity to check our light proofing solutions. So you can see, for example, there I've not quite been liberal enough with the black gunge. Clearly, of course, the smoking room there doesn't need any. Need a bit more black gunge there. But on this one, I've been quite successful. And again, on that one, I've been quite successful as well. So, good opportunity now just to go round with the light stopper, the fabric paint, and just make sure that we've stopped all the light that we need to. Once I've done that, I will secure all these wires down neaten everything up a wee bit, and then we'll start looking at interiors. Just a quick note on how I've actually got this all set up and working. I've just wired up all of these chains. You'll notice that there are 4 resistors, therefore 4 chains, 16 LEDs in total. And I've wired them up, put a connector on, and just plugged it into a power supply. And that's about it really, quite simple. One other thing that I've done, I felt that these lights were a little bit too bright white, so I've painted them with an orange over the top, just to sort of make them that little bit more warm. I'm not so fussed about the deck lights being white, but I do care about the interior lights being a bit too bright, so as you can see, a little bit of orange in a few places just to sort of tone that brightness down. Just wiring up the side lights that I did in a previous video. So we've got the 2 lights going down into the wings of the bridge, and what I've done is I've put a connector on which connects up into the officers' quarters, and the reason I've done that is because these lights are underneath the boat deck. They're actually almost on A deck, and if I ever want to remove the officers' quarters, I would need to cut those wires, so by putting a connector on there I got myself a means of taking the officers' quarters out without needing to break any electrical connections. Right, so here we are. I've just plugged the system back into my power supply and the effects are beautiful. I am so happy with how this has turned out. You can see the gymnasium, those frosted windows, just sort of giving you the idea something's behind, and then as you look through the door, which I have not yet glued in place, you see that there is actually stuff going on in there. Similarly in the grand staircase, and you can see the effect that that orange paint has had on these lights. The interior light really comes across quite warm and quite dim actually, but it really does make a nice effect. You can see the glass slightly shimmering in the windows as well, which is just what we're after. And again you can see the deck light pointing, or rather shining, aft only. Then the officers' quarters, pretty closed up, pretty quiet, but there's a cabin on there. I can't remember if that's the smoking room or Murdoch. I think that's the smoking room. I'm losing track of which side we're on. And stop. I have checked, that is the smoking room, so I was correct. It becomes a bit tricky to work out where things are because most of the time I'm working with the officers' quarters flipped upside down, so everything's sort of mirror image of each other. Anyway, those lights are from the smoking room. But again, nice warm colour inside, and the deck lights just that bit whiter. And then coming along to the front, the bridge, and we have the side light as well. So that's all the lighting in this section done now. So we'll start moving on to other things. Just a couple of notes. Obviously let's not be concerned about what we can see in here because a funnel will be there. Let's not be concerned about the wires we can see there because the dome comes over here, and the dome is going to be opaque, so you won't be able to see that. And similarly forward here, it's another funnel there, so we don't need to worry too much about that. I am probably going to do the Marconi room, but as yet there's no lights there, so I might need to add a few later. But for now, really happy with how this has turned out. I am particularly happy with the grand staircase because it just looks so sort of warm and inviting in there. You know, it does look, the light sort of works with the wood and the tiled floor and stuff, and because the windows are big enough, it's one of the rare occasions when you actually can genuinely see the interior beyond, you know. Right, so I'm just about to start with the furniture that's needed in the 2 rooms I am decorating in the officers' quarters. So this is a set, and you'll probably recognise the resin. This is a set from the same company that's done all the other internal furniture that I've used, Amateur 3D Printing. A link in the description below to their Facebook page. And I feel a bit bad really because they sent me this set, a sample of sort of furniture from staterooms. They sent me this when I bought the grand staircase, which of course was quite a long time ago, but I've just not got to the point in the model where I could use this until now. But better late than never, I suppose. So in the set you get beds, sort of chaise longue, sort of long sofas, desks, dressing tables, sort of bureau style thing, wardrobes, and a selection of other items as well. So I'm going to use these for Murdoch's cabin, and I'll also use a couple of the things along with some of my other furniture for the smoking room. I might as well do the Marconi room, we'll see. So I'm going to cut these out, get them cleaned up, and then start painting them. Just as an aside as well, Neil over at Woodies Model Works is also doing an officers' quarters upgrade set. So I said I'd chuck in a couple of screen grabs of his work into this video as well, so you can see, I mean, look at that. This stuff looks really, really nice as well. I believe this is coming out in the relatively near future. So just so you're sort of aware of all the different options out there in terms of add-on sets, this will also become available quite soon. So I've just done the first coat now on these different bits of furniture, and you can see that I've done the mirror stand here, and I've done the wash stand, and I've also done the sofas and the bed, and also the wardrobes. A bit more work needs to be done on a few items. I want to tighten up this bit a bit. The bit of the sort of cream paint has gone a bit further than I'd like. And I would like to do a little bit more work on the bed, perhaps have a sheet which has been turned down, something like that. And I might also do a second coat of cream on these sofas. You'll notice at one point I was doing a little bit of dry brushing because I thought that this wooden colour was a little bit too dark. So I dry brushed a little bit of this matte 63 just to sort of vary up the colour of the wood a bit, and you can see that there is now just a slight variety in the colours of the wood. Just gives the idea that perhaps there's a grain there instead of a flat colour, you know. Not a huge amount of furniture to do here, of course, because we're only doing 2 rooms, but there we go. Now there are a few chairs and things that need to go in as well, but fortunately I kept all of the old chairs from various different rooms that I had done, and I tended to make a few too many, you know, in case I dropped them on the floor and couldn't find them again or whatever. So because of that, I'm using these chairs, which were initially meant for the Café Parisien, but I've got about 30 odd spares of these, and it seems a shame to waste them, so I'll use these as the chairs in the smoking room. I've also already got some pot plants, and these are pot plants that I made for the private promenades, and you'll see that down here I've got 4 more because I want 6 on the boat deck floor of the grand staircase. So I'll be showing you how to do those in just a sec as well. Right, so I'm just getting the final bits of the gymnasium done, and in it there were 2 sort of windows with various displays. So in the rightmost window there was a sort of side view of Titanic with a breakdown of her individual decks, and on the left hand side there was a map showing all the different White Star Line routes around the world. So what I've done is I've printed out each of these 2 things, but I couldn't really, I didn't take this piece with me when I was at the printer, so I couldn't really work out what size I needed, and of course I hadn't measured up to start with because I was a bit of an idiot. So what I've done is I've printed out loads of different sizes in 2mm increments, and I'm just going to find the one that best fits. So this one for the profile of the ship looks quite good. That one's a bit too thin, so that's the one. So I'll just mark that with a pencil. And then on the other side, it's probably most likely that that one's going to fit again, but yeah, that's pretty good. Let's just go up and down to make sure. I mean, that's nice, but you're starting to chop off bits of the world. Yeah, I think that one's probably the best again. Cool, okay. So what I'll do is I'll cut these out, and I'll cut them a wee bit oversized just so I've got a bit of space to glue around the outside of them, you know. So sharp knife. There we are. Now the other side. Lovely. There we are. Now it's just a case of gluing these in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Gorilla Glue, the wood glue, rather than super glue here, because it doesn't need to be a really strong bond, and I think the super glue will probably damage the ink a bit, and that's far too much. That is far too much glue. Just a very light amount will do here. There's one. And there's the second. What I'll do is I'll take a photo of this and show you, because that'll be easier than filming it. Now, of course, in this scale, even the poor printer struggles to deal with the resolution. But you get the idea. You know, you get the idea that the right-hand one is a ship and the left-hand one is the map of the world. And I think this looks really nice, actually. Okay, now just to glue the entire assembly down. And there we are, looking nice. Right, I've now got my gymnasium pieces all glued in, and they do look absolutely brilliant. I think the photo etching just gives that extra 3D element that the printouts don't really. So thanks very much, Neil. The tragedy, of course, is that Gymnasium's windows were frosted, as you can see here, so the only way you see in is through the door. But accuracy over looks, I think. So now it's pretty much a case of gluing this all down. Now then, one thing I do just want to draw your attention to is you'll notice that I've added the interiors for the gymnasium in two of the walls, but not on this outward facing wall here, and not over here. And the rationale for that is I don't see the point. You'll not ever be able to see the insides of these walls. And so because of that, I just don't see any virtue in adding them. It feels like a sort of an additional weight that isn't required, you know. So I'm trying to be sort of pragmatic where I can and only adding weight that is necessary. Now, another little finishing touch that I'm doing is I'm adding a sort of understep to each of the doors. So I've got this one here, and I've also put one on the officers' quarters entrance door there. And what these are there for is because all of the doors on Titanic had this. There was a sort of you had to step up to go through the door, so to speak. So putting these on does two things. Firstly, it makes sure that the door in the open position still covers the entire aperture, which of course is quite important, but it also just adds to the realism a bit more as well. So I've just fitted the open door, which allows us to view the gymnasium, and you can see how that step really helps us out, because it makes a door that otherwise would actually be a bit too small to fill the aperture the right size. So it is useful, and you can see on the inside again, that's how it works. We also get a nice view of the beautiful interiors that Neil's made from Woodies Model Works. It's just so nice. I think the more I look at it, and I know I've made this point already in the video, but the sort of the actual 3D effect of the panelling versus the printed out panelling does actually help quite a lot. It gives a bit of shadow and, you know, gives a bit of depth that you don't get with a flat print. So really, really, really nice. So that's it. The other door has also been fitted. You can see here it is over there, and you can see the corridor beyond. Also looks really nice. So, this seems like an appropriate place to end the video. It's only about 5 o'clock outside, so this is as dark as I can get the room. But you'll notice that the deck lights really do only really provide light looking aft. You really don't get a huge amount of light on the bridge. You can see that there is light to be seen, but it's all sort of bouncing off other stuff. None of those deck lights genuinely do shine forward, and if I show you from the other direction, you can see that those lights do provide genuine light going out. So those lighting shrouds really have done what I wanted them to do, and I'm chuffed to bits with that, because lighting on models is always tricky, and I'm going to do a very, very quick video about that to emphasize what I mean. But lighting is always an absolute pain on models. Other things, side lights, there we go, starboard, and of course port, burning away nicely. I'm really happy with this section of the ship now. As I've shown already in the video, I'm really happy with the sort of the cabins that are lit, you know, and the rest of the officers' quarters does look pretty sort of closed up. People in bed for the night, or maybe officers on duty just having left the lights off in their rooms, you know. But a single cabin over there, the smoking room, and Murdoch's cabin also lit up. Maybe he's just got back from a shift. Maybe he's forgotten to turn the light off. And you can see as well, just down into that corridor. And it just gives the impression that there is depth to the ship, you know. That corridor makes you think that actually people are walking around here, and there is a ship beyond the outside, you know. So I'm really happy with it. I do like how the photo etch creates those shadows on the deck. That really does add something. And it all looks so sort of warm and inviting, you know. So, yeah, I'm really happy with it. And lastly, you can just see into the gym, you can just about see the clock with those pedal bikes. So you pedal around those little hands. Oh, and you can just see the Titanic image as well inside. And of course the rest of the windows nicely frosted. Clearly this isn't stuck down yet, and in fact I've got a wire coming out through it so I can drive these LEDs at the minute. Not stuck down because I need to do the interiors. I need to add a piano and also some people into the grand staircase, and I need to add a couple of people and some furniture into the smoking room. I might add Murdoch in his room, and I also do need to do the Marconi room. So there's a little bit more to go, but not a huge amount. So I am really happy with this. So that's it for today's video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them down below and I'll do my absolute best to get back to you. If you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one where, fingers crossed, we'll finish off the officers' quarters. Bye for now.